Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, I've said before that, let me make sure I'm up first. The story has annoyed me. It's profoundly annoyed me. And it needs to be. You didn't write. Alright, good. I can see myself moving and shaking in the corner. So, I am up. I'm doing a few shows this morning because I'm not sure how many I'm going to be able to do tonight. So, tomorrow, however, I will be with Grant Cameron at 5 p.m., UFOologist, interplay between consciousness and the UFO phenomena. Again, that show is going to be amazing. I've looked forward to that show for God knows how long. And I may do a 420 before Grant gets here for kind of the consciousness stuff. But nevertheless, Grant Cameron's going to be here at 5 p.m. Hard Bastard is going to be here at 7 p.m. Both of those shows are going to be amazing. So, I've said on more than one occasion that when Trump took office, the people that he put in the slots, in those specific positions, were more like comic book villains. It was hard to even believe that he was putting some of the people in the slots. So the guy he puts in the EPA had lawsuits against the EPA. The person that he put in the education thing purely knew nothing at all about education, was just there to enrich her cronies. And in this case, Tillerson in the State Department leaves. Now, the person he put in the State Department was an oil man, Tillerson. Tillerson is leaving. Tillerson is out. Mike Pompeo is leaving the CIA in order to replace Tillerson in the State Department. The person, however, who's taking his place, who's taken the place of Mike Pompeo in the CIA, is Gina Haspel. Gina Haspel ran torture centers in CIA, or for the CIA. She ran torture clinics in Thailand. The woman was a torturer. Understand what we're being said. Understand what's being said. Torture is against our law. Torture is against international law. George Bush admitted to him torturing human beings. There was no consequence for that. There was no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We went into that country and killed 1 million people. And in killing the 1 million people, torturing human beings to get them to say that there was some link between 9/11 and Saddam Hussein, and there was no link that could be established despite the torturing. Is torture against the law or not? Is it against the law or not? The President of the United States has owned up to torture. We have multiple instances of people being caught torturing, some of these cases being tortured to death. One of the people who did that torture in some black sites in Thailand, torturing and breaking other human beings, is now the person who's in charge of the CIA. You have maniacs in charge of these offices. A torturer is now in charge of the CIA. That's fucking amazing. Let's take a look at the story first. CIA Director Mike Pompeo moves to become the United States Secretary of State. Deputy Director Gina Haspel has been nominated to lead the agency. If confirmed by the Senate, she will become the first woman to run the CIA. Yeah, me too, me too. That doesn't stop her from being a torturer. That doesn't stop her from being a torturer. Haspel's nomination will be controversial. She played a leading role in running a United States torture site abroad and later destroyed the evidence. They know she did this. And she walks. And not just walks. Promoted. In 2002, she oversaw a secret prison in Thailand that tortured 2 terrorism suspects. The torture took place within the CIA's extraordinary rendition program. It was fucking extraordinary. In which suspect terrorists are sent to the United States allies and interrogated in black sites on their soil. Understand what she's talking about. Obama could come out and say, we torture some folks. We torture some folks. I'm being folksy as I talk about torturing and breaking other human beings against our law, against international law. So he would say, we didn't do it, but we're going to take them to other countries where they're okay with torturing. So the president can look with a straight face and say, we're not torturing people, even though they're torturing people at the behest of us. Understand what's being said. Oftentimes, they are lying to you. What they're telling you demands a certain amount of context, and you're not giving that context from the mainstream media. The person who they're putting in this position literally ran a torture site. Put the shit in context. ProPublica find that Haspel personally signed cables to CIA headquarters that detain Zubayr's interrogation. CIA videos of the torture were destroyed in 2005 on orders of the cable drafted by Haspel. Her then boss, Jose Rodriguez, the CIA director of the operations for counterterrorism, signed off on the order. The cable left nothing to chance. It even told them how to get rid of the tapes, he wrote in his memoir, according to ProPublica. They were to use an industrial-strength shredder to do the deed. They hid evidence. They knew they were wrong. Destruction of evidence is evidence of guilt. She ran a torture site. It was so horrific and disgusting that they had to destroy the evidence so nobody can see the fruits of their labor. Here's the catch. I always badmouth Europe because I always ask the question, how are you going after people in these podunk African nations? But the United States killed 1 million people in that last war. In Libya, destroying that country under the pretext of humanitarian causes. In the same way that we were paying terrorists to undermine the Syrian regime, we were also paying terrorists to kick up dust in that country, in Yemen, in Libya, using humanitarian reasons in order to destroy that country. Same thing that's taking place right now in Syria. They did not count on Russia coming to the aid of the Syrian government. The Syrian government was on the brink of collapse. If it wasn't for Russia and some of the other neighbors, that country would have collapsed. Do you really want ISIS and terrorist forces taking over Syria? Is that really your objective? Nobody's saying this Assad is a good guy. I'm asking, but do you want it to be destroyed? Would you prefer the people of Syria to deal with Assad, or would you like the people of Syria to be under some kind of harsh Islamic law? Put the shit in context. Put it in context. The European Commission has a warrant out for her. The person who's going to lead the CIA, the person who was in charge of a torture site, the person who destroyed the information for that torture site, has an arrest warrant from Europe out because of the torture. I always bash Europe because I always say selective justice is not justice. If the United States kills 1 million people, then the European court should say something about the United States killing 1 million people. That's a big fucking deal. Whatever you want to say about some African nation that's torturing or murdering or hurting somebody else in a regional country, it does not compete with 1 million people that were destroyed, not to mention the nations that were destroyed and flooded with all of the refugees and the chaos that was caused by us destroying that country. Put the shit in context. This woman is now going to head the CIA. She needs to be approved by the Senate, but she's going to head the CIA. And there's an arrest warrant on her if she travels to Europe. Good on Germany for having the arrest warrant out for her. You need to get your hands on her. And she needs not to be the only person that you put up for arrest. We in the United States completely give a pass to the crimes that these people partake in. George Bush, despite killing 1 million people, despite being put into a prison. Tony Blair, despite being put into prison, those people are out floating about doing their political circles. Some lefties have even moved to rehabilitate George Bush. It's fucking amazing. This woman should be in prison. A lot of people should be in prison. This woman is a torturer. This woman is a murderer. And for all intents and purposes, this woman should be behind bars. There is an arrest warrant out for her in Europe as we speak. It's few and far between where I think Europe steps up and actually does something on a human rights front. But in this case, they found somebody who was torturing other human beings and who, evidence of guilt, destroyed the evidence of that torture. And now she's being promoted to head the CIA. Understand the situation to which you're presented with. This is the draft from Germany. European Center on Constitutional Rights and Human Rights. CIA Director Gina Haspel must face arrest on traveling to Europe. ECCHR's legal intervention filed in the German federal public prosecutor, is aimed at securing an arrest warrant for CIA Deputy Director Gina Haspel. Haspel was appointed to the post by President Donald Trump in February 2017. The information submitted to the GBA by ECCHR on June 6, 2017 documents Haspel's role in torture of detainees in 2002 at the secret CIA prison in Thailand. In the dossier, ECCHR argues that Haspel oversaw the daily torture of detainees at the black site in 2002 and failed to do anything to stop it. Not only did she fail to do anything to stop it, hid the evidence when it was trying to be investigated. Those who commit order or allow torture should be brought before court. This is especially true for senior officials from powerful nations, said ECCHR's General Secretary Wolfgang Kalek. The prosecutor must, under the principle of universal jurisdiction, open investigations, secure evidence, and seek an arrest warrant. If the deputy director travels to Germany or Europe, she must be arrested. There is a warrant out for her arrest, and she is now going to head the CIA. This is criminal. This is profoundly criminal. The United States Torture Program, ECCHR's legal intervention, filed with the German federal prosecutor since 2014. This submission is a follow-up of a criminal complaint on the United States Torture Program filed by ECCHR with the German prosecutor on December 17, 2014. ECCHR is calling for an investigation into the United States Torture Program as a whole and all members of the government, CIA, and military who bear responsibility for the program. Directly after publication in December 2014 of the United States Senate Intelligence Committee report on the CIA torture, ECCHR submitted a criminal complaint to the CIA Director George Tenet, former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, and other members of the United States government under George Bush. In July 2015, further information was filed regarding the CIA torture program, in particular, senior CIA agent Francis B. This was followed in the summer by 2016 by submission offering witness testimony from former detainees. They're actually doing an investigation into the torture program. Good for them. If Gina Haspel steps foot in Europe, Gina Haspel must be arrested on crimes of torture. Seeing that the United States has given her and other people who propagated the torture program a pass, we look to other forces in order to get these people justice. No impunity for torture in Guantanamo, Abu Ghraib, and CIA secret prisons. Those responsible for designing and implementing a torture system, politician officials, intelligence agents, lawyers, and high-ranking army officials, should be brought before a court, said ECCHR. General Secretary Wolfgang Kalek, with investigations into Deputy Director Gina Haspel, Germany can help ensure that rendition, abuse, and unlawful detention do not go unpunished. Khalid Marsi, who was abducted by the CIA agents in 2004 in a case of mistaken identity and tortured in a secret detention camp in Afghanistan. My point is very simple in this. A is to inform, meaning Tillerson is out, Mike Pompeo is taking over his spot, and the person who was in Mike Pompeo's under Mike Pompeo, who is now taking that spot, is Gina Haspel. Gina Haspel was in charge of a torture program in Thailand. Secret black site, torturing other human beings, oversaw the program in which she was torturing human beings. Gina Haspel also destroyed the evidence so the American public couldn't necessarily see the fruits of their labor, the misery that they were creating and the misery that they were causing. And last and final, that same person, that same maniac, that same torturer, if she goes to Europe, will be arrested and prosecuted for her crimes. That's where we are. Donald Trump, again, puts in comic book villains into slots that those people shouldn't be anywhere near. This one is going to be long. This is just the notice. I will end that at this. And this is not one party, by the way. This is both. Whatever Obama told you when he came out saying they don't torture, they were still renditioning people. In no way did they stop them taking people to black sites, taking them to other countries, and breaking and hurting other human beings, some of which were completely innocent. And even if they weren't innocent, still shouldn't be doing it. Still shouldn't be doing it. I'm going to enter that. This wasn't going to be long. Just fucking amazing that this is a reality to which we find ourselves. That woman is a goddamn torturer. She's a torturer. And now she's the head of a criminal organization. fucking CIA. Good fucking job. If you Hillary Clinton is going to say, is this the country we deserve? Yes. This is the country we deserve. We do this shit all across the world. It is coming back home to roost. This is fundamentally the country we deserve. Good fucking job.